There are two ways we can approach Anjali's death and the ripples it has made in our body politic. We can take a ringside view of the entire matter, which is translation for becoming a warrior, which is again shorthand for keenly absorbing and digesting the most salacious information emerging about her death, and then pointing fingers at others, which honestly has been the case so far. Or we can choose to be troubled by her gruesome death and look inwards at what is going wrong with us as a society and how, in a sense, we are contributing to this tragic trauma. And I cannot emphasize this point enough because at the end of the day, the men in the Baleno who grinded her to her death, the police who did not respond and are now investigating the case, the politicians who have swooped on this case like vultures, and even the media are all part of us. And collectively, we take the blame for what went wrong in this case. There is no us versus them. And I will explain to you how we all are responsible for what is going wrong in our society. But first, a sober welcome to all viewers of the CAA show and a happy new year. Hope this new year brings us better news than what we are experiencing so far. CAA, as all of you know, is Conversations and Analysis, and my name is Juggi Bhasin. To watch this video podcast, press the big red subscriber button on your screen, and subscription is of course completely free. Let us first understand how we have responded to this death and then analyze the reasons for our response. First off the mark, as is always the case in such matters, are our politicians. And in that matter, the response of the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi was disgusting, to say the least. Instead of being sensitive to the death and waiting for the police to complete their investigation, our leaders launched a broadside against the Lieutenant Governor, the BJP in general, the Home Ministry, alleging conspiracies, painting a picture that all BJP workers were thugs, road marauders, and simply evil. No doubt, one of the main accused in the Baleno is a BJP worker. But did he crush and drag the victim in that capacity, or simply that he is a deranged human being? I think the answer to that question is very clear. No party, and I would include AAP in that, would tell its workers to plow down people on the roads in a drunk state. So why all this ruckus that this person was a BJP worker? Is all this shouting to simply gain political capital from a girl's death and cover up your guilt that more could have been done in improving infrastructure and CCTV cameras, etc., and use the Nirbhaya funds to prevent such incidents? AAP must answer for that. The BJP also should be open-chested of this issue. So, what if one of the accused is from their party? Be open about it and explain your case that such a person deserves the strictest of punishment. Why wait for AAP to pervert the narrative? And then the media. There was a ridiculous primetime report in one of the channels that showed girl reporters traversing Delhi streets at 3 o'clock in the night, standing on the curbside with hidden cameras in tow, waiting for cars and scooters to stop near them and make a pass at them so they could make the case Delhi streets are unsafe for women. The sheer mockery we make of human tragedies. Should the safety of women on Delhi streets, an extremely important issue for all times, become sensational reporting of the most bizarre kind in the present? And then again, in that interview with Anjali's friend Nidhi, one can clearly see the girl is speaking to a script as it were adding only to a narrative peddled by the media. If you have got the interview, should you not be going hammer and tongs at Nidhi, grilling her over her course of action when she fled the scene and not reported the matter to the police and perhaps, in a way, contributed to Anjali's death? Where was the due diligence and priority in that interview? Instead of that, we listened to fantastical interpretations of the girl, what the men in the Baleno did, as if she was privy to their thinking. Any idiot could have seen she was shifting blame. Only the interviewer was oblivious to that. The sheer hypocrisy and irresponsibility of all parties and dramatis personae in this case is unbelievable. And regarding the role of the police, about poor policing along deserted stretchers and poor lighting, which aided in the unbelievable cruelty of the crime, the real question for the police to answer must be why the calls for investigation were not taken up by the staff at police helpline numbers. This is an unbelievable dereliction of duty. Instead of focusing on the serious issue, the emphasis is on political one-upmanship, the alcoholic fights of the victim, and all sorts of extraneous issues. And that brings me to the role of the men in the car who dragged the poor girl for a stretch of nearly 10 to 12 kilometers. And here, I re-emphasize my earlier point that we as a society failed that girl because what the men in the Baleno did is what we do every day on the streets of Delhi when we drive our cars and other personal vehicles on the roads. We get in our cars and our vehicles and we break all traffic rules, curse and swear and overtake from the wrong side and transform into fiends who live by the axiom of my way or the highway. Maybe the men in the Baleno in real life are midgets, cowardly characters, but in a car, under the influence of alcohol, they feel empowered that they can get away with anything. Does not a similar feeling engulf so many of us when we hit Delhi roads in our vehicles? And where do you think the men in the Baleno took their cue from? Not from some film or serial, but from the hopeless, degrading behavior we exhibit as citizens on Delhi roads day in and day out. And finally, curse the police or call them names, but the real investigation in this matter will not be done by the media or by AAP party members, but only by the police. Highlight the deficiencies and shortcomings, but we must turn to them to get to the bottom of the matter. Degrading them for political opportunism will not get us anywhere. This is my takeaway from this dastardly crime. Even from the worst tragedies in life, we end up learning something that uplifts our life and society at large. We know what has to be done. Can we move beyond our vested interests to do just that? And so, on this note, I come to the end of this episode of the CAA show. I hope you enjoyed this particular episode. You like our show? Please do subscribe to us. And on this note, it's goodbye and cheers from my end and a very happy new year.